Welcome to WEHM All Access, the podcast where we bring you in-depth conversations with the people shaping life right here on Eastern Long Island. Now, every episode, we're going to dive into the stories, the music, and the voices that define our community, from local leaders to the musicians you know and love. And throughout the summer, we're catching up with many of the performers taking the stage at the Great South Bay Music Festival, getting the inside scoop on their music, their journey, and what they're bringing to Patchogue this year. On this episode of WEHM All Access, we meet Owls by Day. They're Brooklyn's improvisation-driven, genre-blending quartet making their first appearance at this year's Great South Bay Music Festival. We talk about how the band formed, their writing process, the New York City venues that shaped them, and what they're bringing to their Sunday set. It's a fresh, exciting new band in the jam scene. Let's get into it. Owls by Day on today's WEHM All Access. It is the EHM Breakfast Show with Harry, and as we head towards the Great South Bay Music Festival, looking forward to a whole bunch of different performances this year, and I believe a lot of first-timers, too, which is kind of cool. We're chatting with a whole bunch of bands, and want to welcome to our virtual studio on Zoom right now is the band Owls by Day. There's Eric, Danny, Jordan, and Rob. Thanks for spending some time with us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Curious, first off, I guess because we want to kind of go back and learn about how you guys got together as a band, but this is the first time you're performing at the Great South Bay Music Festival, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about?
That's right. Well, I guess I'll kick it off. I guess sort of started the band. I found Danny through actually a Facebook group called Fish Guitar Heads, and I was just looking for someone else to write some music with in that kind of style. And we hit it off, and took a little while to find the right mix of people. Eventually landed on Eric on the drums and Rob on the bass. And we've been doing this. I met Danny in September of 2023.
Oh, wow. So fairly recent.
And our first gig wasn't until April of 2024.
How long did it take to kind of find the right mix? Were you guys moving people in and out, or just working on different projects? How did you know this was kind of the direction to go in?
I think we just had a good we clicked on the writing sense, and the jamming was great. We both viewed each other as like equals in terms of like guitar playing and songwriting, and it was very collaborative from the very beginning. And as soon as we had added Eric on drums, it was like perfect. It just worked. We didn't have to fight it too much.
How long you guys have been doing music for a while? Have you guys always lived near the Brooklyn area?
Yeah, I think Danny and I are the only native New Yorkers in the band. Both Rob and Jordan are West Coasters, at least. More recently, Rob, can speak to. He grew up in Connecticut. I lived in Connecticut for a long time, but I'm a true New Yorker, and I've been looking for a band like this for a very long time. And it's a funny thing when you're getting older and like you're not going to find the band you're looking for, and you get close to 40, and all of a sudden this thing kind of clicks together. Yeah. I don't think any of us were expecting it to feel as good as it does.
That's interesting. So you really came together nicely over the past few years. You guys have been doing different things. I read that you just did the Bowery Ballroom earlier this year, and kind of doing bigger shows and bigger venues. What's it like? I guess we'll start because there are 4 members in the band. What's it like as far as the writing process and kind of creating music together? And how do you balance, because in a way you guys just like to get together and jam sometimes. How do you balance that with the songwriting?
Yeah, I could just jump in here. The songwriting is a really important part of what we do. I was coming into the group with a decent backlog of my own music that I had written prior to meeting any of these guys. And while, I think the same could be said for everybody else in the group. We could bring in old music, but we really enjoy the process of coming together and making something completely new. And usually the way that goes is somebody has sort of the seed of an idea, which they bring to the group, and there's a lot of excitement around that, possibility of that small concept becoming a fully fleshed out song, which, given our style, has the potential to be improvised on for, up to maybe even 20 minutes for just a single song. And it can go in a lot of different directions. And then, we all will then collaborate on hammering out the finer details of the song's entire form. And, we all really rise to the occasion of collaborating in that way.
Improvising is a big, of course, part of every live show. How do you kind of adjust to it? How do you plan for it? Does it kind of go with? I guess you go with the flow with it, but do you have a plan for it and kind of know going in how you want to kind of create things and mix it up a little bit? Each show is different.
I think we all know the spaces where exploration is called for. There's moments in each song that kind of speak to there being, a sort of choose your own adventure vibe. Everyone in this band has very big ears. We're very good listeners, and I think what excites us the most in being improvisational is latching on to someone's kernel of an idea, melodic idea or rhythmic idea, and kind of following that through to its natural conclusion. And it makes for, really unique versions of each song, so that there's no two versions are the same, which is very much in the vein of the jam band ethos. We really try and find a new idea each time we play a song and exploit it.
What's the role of the crowd when you're improvising on the stage? Does that affect where you kind of go with it, or kind of shorten or lengthen it? How does that affect you, the reaction of the crowd?
For me, I like to lead versus follow. I think that it's sort of our job as a band to bring the audience along with us, and certainly if we're getting if we're doing our job right, where we end up is where they're happy the jam ends up as well.
That makes sense. I have to ask, where did the name come from? Owls by Day. Where did this? Where was that born?
Almost the hardest part of having a band is coming up with a fun name that you feel like captures the essence of what you are, and just throwing names at the wall and seeing which one sticks with everybody.
I think that the actual the band name itself, to me at least, is a representation of the fact that we kind of live these dual lives of we are doing this very much seriously, but we all have day jobs, and so there is this dichotomy of when we're together at night, we are very much alive and kind of living this life of being musicians, but come the daytime, we are sleepily getting through our responsibilities. And so Owls by Day kind of felt like a nice summation of we thrive better at night, but we have to kind of get to the daytime as well.
Can I ask what you guys do during the day, what day jobs is? I'm curious. It always is interesting to see what backgrounds a lot of bands, because a lot of bands are working other jobs to make this whole thing happen.
I'll jump in. I've been in music education for a long time, and I'm director of education at a music school called the Jazz School.
And that's actually what I was kind of thinking, and I didn't know that, but I do find that a lot of music teachers, and a lot of times it's great because of the summers, you guys can go out on tour and do more shows because of the summer vacation, so to speak. Does that work out for you as far as that works?
The job is year round, but we do seem to have that kind of flexibility to, make the band a priority and jump in on fun opportunities like this upcoming festival.
As far as what you guys are working on, have you been putting together, I think I read that you've got something coming soon, an album.
We are in the final stages of getting our production list together for our first record. At the same time, we've had so many shows in the last year that we're looking to do some live releases as well. So we're pulling together a first live volume of some tunes from some previous shows. But our first studio record should be out, we're hoping, by the end of this year. That's sort of the plan. We're going to be in production very soon.
What's it like? You guys are based in Brooklyn. There's obviously a huge musical influence there and a musical kind of ecosystem. What's that like to be around? Does that help your creativity, working with others and collaborations? Do they tend to kind of come from that?
I think that's a big part of this whole experience that has been really enjoyable for me, has been getting to know some of the other bands on the scene that we share the stages with, share the bills with. We've had a couple of repeat bands, and you sort of just by impulse, you kind of like almost measure yourself against like what they're doing and see how they approach working with the crowd and writing their songs and structuring their jams, and everybody has such a unique take on like how they do that. And when we share bills together, we support each other. And when somebody invites us to play a show, then like we can return the favor back to them. And it's really awesome to be able to play a part in, maintaining that really rich music ecosystem that you had mentioned.
Curious, you guys are playing Sunday, July 26th at the Jambalaya stage, Owls by Day, GreatSouthBayMusicFestival.com for tickets and more information on the full lineup for the weekend. How do you guys approach your sets? Obviously, you have a certain amount of time, but this is. Have you done other festivals, and how does this whole set come together? How do you plan it as a group?
Yeah, I think with a 45-minute set, we have to be very strategic in what we're looking to accomplish. I think for me, it's, this is our first festival on Long Island, and so there's a real opportunity to kind of engage a new fan base. And so you kind of want to make sure you're presenting as much of your music as possible, also presenting what we're best at, which is improvisational music and making people dance. That's at the end of the day, I think we really just want to make people have a good time and move their bodies. So it's in equal measure, like showcasing some of our music and giving opportunity for there to be some stretching and some opportunity to dance a little bit.
What's creating the set list like? Are there certain songs you want to do that you're comfortable with? Are there covers that you're looking to do?
I will share that there's one Long Island centric cover that we are throwing into the mix. I grew up in Massapequa, so Long Island is my home truly, and so there's definitely the notion of throwing this like Long Island specific thing in, and also there's, I would say, 4 or 5 songs of ours that are like really festival appropriate and allow for like there to be some good hooks and also some space. And so we kind of like sat down and really looked through like what can we cram into 45 minutes that accomplishes all those goals and ticks all those boxes.
How do you, I'm just curious, and this is more for behind the scenes stuff. How does it work? How did you guys get hooked up with the Great South Bay Music Festival?
Yeah, I work in the music business. I'm an artist manager in my day job. And so Jim Faith has become a good friend and someone who I've known for a little while. And I'm often very reticent to talk about my own musical projects because I like to keep church and state separate. But this band felt like a really good fit for Sunday, and so I just kind of mentioned it to Jim in passing, sent him over a link, and he really enjoyed what we do. And so it just felt like a really natural fit.
Oh, that's great. Owls by Day, based in Brooklyn right now, but from all over. What did you guys grow up listening to that kind of turned you into this direction that you wanted to be in this type of band? What did you guys listen to growing up?
The Dead. We love the Grateful Dead. I think that is the one through line for all 4 of us, is that the Grateful Dead really drives a lot of our musical decision making, and the way that they approach both compositions and jamming is super important. I'm a massive Pink Floyd fan. Floyd is very important to me. I'll let you guys talk to about what you like.
I would declare myself as the resident jazz guy in the band who brings that. I mean, I'm not the only one who loves jazz, but that's a lot of my playing background is coming from a jazz background. And so I think that's like kind of what I bring in particular to the group. And I'm like kind of thinking about that. And still as the new guy in the band, figuring out where's the overlap between each, we're still kind of getting to know each other about like where does the Venn diagram meet? Where's the sweet spot of people's various influences and things so that it can come together in this kind of this manner that has like a fresh energy of its own. And but yeah, jazz guy, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Duke Ellington, so on and so forth. But also Grateful Dead, Fish, Steely Dan, all that kind of fun stuff.
I grew up on a lot of 60s and 70s funk rock, especially Derek and the Dominoes and that kind of jamming. Tower of Power, Sly and the Family Stone, all of that kind of stuff. So trying to bring a little bit more of like funk and pocket and more like rhythm guitar playing. But a lot of that music too is just so musicianship focused. Even if they're playing something simple, they're doing it to the best of their ability.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, and if I may also just chime in on that, I think my first two concert experiences are very illustrative of who I am as a musician, and there also is a Long Island connection there as well. But when I was 7, I saw Neil Young at the United Palace in Washington Heights. And then when I was 8, I was fortunate enough to see Stevie Wonder at Jones Beach. And,
wow.
Both of those artists are two of my all-time favorites, and they've been part of my life since I was just a boy, And I got into jam bands when I was like a teenager.
Wow. That's great. Owls by Day is the band. They're going to be at the Great South Bay Music Festival on that Sunday, July 26th. I'm curious, as a band, and I mean, you have various projects over the years, but this is one that you're certainly focusing on over the past couple. What's it like for a band now? Because it's not necessarily just about the music, and that should be, but it's a lot of social media involved now, a lot of ways to get the band out there. What's that been like for you to kind of formulate and piece together as a band here in 2026?
I think that we are a bit antithetical to most bands that are out there now, in that we're a little more analog than most, and we kind of let the music speak for itself. Social media has not been a priority for us. It's been our experience that you play really good shows and you build a fan base by being at the merch table and meeting some people. And that is as effective as a funny meme post on your Instagram. And so I think we're a little more focused on being tapped in and present with the people who are there to see us. And we've found that grows a fan base a little more organically than there being a good stream of reels and stories and posts. So we definitely, are mindful of it. And I think we're, aware of its necessity, but the music will always come first for us.
No, that's great. It's tough for some bands because you don't want to get lost in the shuffle. There's so much out there now, and there's so many options, whether it be with, online platforms and everything. So you want to make sure that you don't get lost in the shuffle, but it's great that you guys are letting the music speak for yourself and doing it at great venues too. What was it like doing Bowery Ballroom in these shows, Brooklyn Bowl, as a band? What's it like? Do you kind of notice the growth and working together over time, I'd imagine?
It's been unbelievable. Just a real privilege, honestly, to be able to say that we have performed at those two venues. It's not something that I think any of us takes lightly in any way. And when you have a show on a stage like that, you really want to bring it. And we work really hard. We practice really intentionally and with great focus. And, I think it really shows when we get up there on the stage.
Well,
I think playing at those venues really, I think the crowd also plays a much bigger part at a venue like that than something smaller. And it really does feed into the energy of jams and like just the overall emotional experience of playing at venues like that, and kind of hitting, big milestones like that. Really, it changes how we think of the next show and everything. We're always trying to go on an upward trajectory. But it's I think we just try to live in the moment when we're playing at a venue like that, and we try to set our intentions for the show and, make sure that we're giving it everything we got.
As you continue to tour and do other shows, what's it like, I guess, as the band evolves? How does it work with, because there are 4 people and different instruments, different experiences. When you're writing and putting together songs, where do the ideas come from? How do you get together on it? Because is it intentional? Do you walk in and say, all right, we're going to write these songs right now? Or do you kind of just go through your past? You mentioned earlier some older songs kind of have some influence too. But how do what's kind of the process that works best for you guys?
For me, I think about this moment where we had written a bridge to our song, and it just kind of it really just happened. I played something by accident, and Danny latched onto it, and we kind of like fleshed it out and kept playing with it, and things like that are really just they just are spur of the moment. That's like my probably the best representation of how I think about writing in this band is like bringing ideas into the band, but also just sometimes stuff happens.
Yeah, I'm someone who has a hard time with the blank page, but if you give me the initial germ of an idea, I can run pretty far with it. And so what has worked, I think, really well for us is kind of coming in with these sketches of ideas and seeing what organically jumps out at all of us. And, both in jamming and in writing, that served us really well. Danny has such great ideas for like the initial idea of a song, and then what will often happen is we'll get to what should the chorus be, or what should the bridge be, or how should we jam, and like it blossoms this much larger musical dialogue that kind of came from someone being a little bit of the dictator of the idea, and then it very quickly becomes co-opted. So I mean, even when someone writes most of what seems like a song, we view songwriting as a four-person democracy. And when we finish a song, we view it as the four of us wrote that song.
Yeah, and that's also, I think, in the shaping process, that's where each of our individual influences come in an interesting way, and so you end up with a pretty unique sound because of that. So one person might have the initial idea, but then, whether if there's four or five different people shaping it, it becomes pretty unique as a result of that, which I really enjoy.
That makes a lot of sense. Chatting with Owls by Day here. They're doing the Great South Bay Music Festival. Don't miss them on the Jambalaya stage on Sunday. They're going on right before Miles to Dayton, and that should be a lot of fun. So looking forward to meeting you guys in person and hearing you, and thank you for sitting down. I appreciate it, getting to know you a bit, and can't wait to see what the future holds. Look forward to the record, hopefully by the end of the year, and wish you guys the best in this process, in this journey. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harry.